what led you to discover this notes or mortgage note investing, and how did you get started?
Oh my gosh, I was back stuck after a few entrepreneurial endeavors that didn't go the way we thought they should, and I was back to working as a high ticket sales manager with like 25 30 sales reps under me, and back to giving 8:30 sales meetings in a suit and tie driving through traffic, and I was right back to it. And I was at a dinner with who became my mentor in this space. I was at a dinner and my mentor just looked at me and said, you make good income. I'm in San Diego, California, so we kind of have to, but you make good income. You're highly sought after in your career. You're a great sales manager. You're a great sales trainer. You're all this other stuff, da 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 da. And he kind of built me up a tad, and then real quickly put me in my place and said, "But how much longer do you want to waste your precious hours and days of your life to make that money?" And I was like, "Oof, well." No one's ever kind of asked me that. And of course, the answer would be for most people, I would quit yesterday if I could, but I have a really good, solid job and I need to pay my bills, right? Well, he just said, listen, I think that with all your skills and your background and so forth, if I taught you how to acquire discounted mortgage notes from banks, hedge funds, and private sellers around the country, and I showed you how you can do it with your money and leveraging other people's money,
This is the Real Estate Wife Show, and I'm your host, Vinki Loomba. As a real estate investor and a fund manager, I'm always excited to explore the world of real estate opportunities with you and for you. Today, I have a really, really good friend, I would say, a new friend, Patrick, friends with me. A little bit about Patrick. He's a seasoned real estate investor and a founder of the Note Mentor, specializing in passive income strategies through real estate note investing. With a mission to educate and empower individuals, he has guided many towards financial freedom by leveraging the power of real estate notes. And we were talking before we started the recording, and he's like all excited and so energetic person. You're going to love the show today. So welcome, Patrick, to the Real Estate Wife Show.
Thank you, Vinki, for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation prior to recording, and it's so awesome to meet you. And I really appreciate you inviting me to your show. And hopefully, I can be here to provide some value for your audience.
Yes, and thank you so much for the knowledge. Before we started the recording, Patrick was telling me how real estate note investing is a powerful strategy for creating passive income by buying and holding the mortgage notes, just maybe one note a month. That's going to make you financially free. And for me, it was like, whoa. A totally new experience that I can create here today. And in this episode, we'll explore how notes work, why they are preferred strategy for wealth building, and the actionable tips for getting started. So Patrick, I'm all excited to hear about your journey in note investing. And you just started in 2019. And you also told me about this unique Rhino method. So our topic for today is the Rhino method, building wealth with real estate notes. So being said that, I wanted to ask you this question. For those who are new to real estate note investing, can you explain what a mortgage note is and how investing in notes work?
I would love to. I am thoroughly convinced that it is one of the best investment vehicles that's ever been created. And I've been playing with investment vehicles for 25 years now. So it's amazing. And I love it. I love telling people about it because it's not the norm, is it? A lot of people understand what wholesaling is nowadays. A lot of people understand, of course, what flipping a house is. There's TV shows about that. Of course, lots of folks into syndication trying to raise tons of money to go and buy an apartment building for value add and all of that. And I love all of those options. I do. And so I'm not saying don't go do that stuff, by the way. I'm just saying, note investing is just a little bit of a different beast. And when we say note investing, Vinki, we're talking about a promissory note, which is just a written promise to pay back monies borrowed. Okay, that's what a promissory note is. Okay, so when we say we're note investors, we mean that we're buying promissory notes and stepping into the shoes of the bank. And when I call it mortgage note investing, I'm simply saying that I invest in debt that's collateralized by physical real estate. Does that make sense? So here's a simple example, instead of me buying a physical property and then putting a tenant in place, and now acting as a landlord and collecting rent every month for my cash flow, I then have the hassles of what they call the terrible T's, right? Which is bad tenants, broken toilets, trash and termite problems, and this kinds of thing. So when we own the physical real estate, we're liable for the physical real estate. So when you're talking about bad tenants, okay, but I've heard people say, well, I've had great tenants in there forever. It's not bad tenants. I'm not afraid of that. But you have maintenance and upkeep, you have full liability, you have taxes and insurance, you have all this other stuff that you're liable for, and you're collecting your monthly cash flow via rent from what we rent. Okay. So that's what people are used to. And that's being a landlord owning rental properties. Instead, I say there may be an option that I can open your mind to that is just a different take. Okay. So instead of buying a physical property with all those liabilities, putting a tenant in place, collecting rent, I say, here's another option for you. You can go and you can buy a mortgage note. You can buy the promissory note, which is secured or collateralized by the physical property. So you can buy the note, and then you put that note in your portfolio, which, by the way, is managed from a third-party loan servicing company. So it's about as passive as you can get in real estate. But when I own that note, now you understand this. I have total control over that property, but I don't own the property, so I don't have the liability and upkeep. Because remember, now there's a homeowner living there, not a renter. And myself, as the mortgage note investor, am now collecting what we call a monthly mortgage payment from a homeowner. So now I'm collecting a mortgage payment every month with interest versus collecting a rent payment every month. So that's all the difference is that I say maybe you can add to your portfolio, or maybe you want to go a totally different direction like I did and kind of get away from physical real estate, whatever it may be. But what a great way to generate passive cash flow from real estate all over the country without having to own the real estate.
So it's like you become a private lender. So let me ask you this question. What led you to discover this notes or mortgage note investing, and how did you get started?
Oh my gosh, I was back stuck after a few entrepreneurial endeavors that didn't go the way we thought they should. And I was back to working as a high ticket sales manager with like 25, 30 sales reps under me, and back to giving 8:30 sales meetings in a suit and tie, driving through traffic. And I was right back to it. And I was at a dinner with who became my mentor in this space. I was at a dinner, and my mentor just looked at me and said, you make good income. I'm in San Diego, California, so we kind of have to, but you make good income. You're highly sought after in your career. You're a great sales manager. You're a great sales trainer. You're all this other stuff. Da, 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 da. And he kind of built me up a tad, and then real quickly put me in my place and said, but how much longer do you want to waste your precious hours and days of your life to make that money? And I was like, oof, well, no one's ever kind of asked me that. And of course, the answer would be for most people, I would quit yesterday if I could, but I have a really good, solid job and I need to pay my bills, right? Well, he just said, listen, I think that with all your skills and your background and so forth, that if I taught you how to acquire discounted mortgage notes from banks, hedge funds, and private sellers around the country, and I showed you how you can do it with your money and leveraging other people's money, that you maybe I could show you a way where you could set yourself free financially and get out of this sales career, working 10 hours a day and all that within a short time. And that was kind of the time when I said, well, if that's the case, of course, I'm open to listening. So that was where it all started, when I was just saying, look, I'll open my mind to something that I've never heard of before, something that it's not mainstream. None of my family or friends are doing it. I don't know this mortgage note investing, but if who became my mentor, if he said to me, I think you could set yourself free financially in a short time doing it. I mean, that's obviously what hooked me, and what would hook most people as, well, tell me more, right? And that's just kind of how it started. That's where it began.
But did you Did you look into that, like what kind of risk it will bring to you, or what risk is involved, or did you have that risk appetite to jump onto this opportunity right away? Take us through that journey as well.
No, call me Mr. Skeptical, and I hope you are too. Okay, that's nature, that's natural. Okay, if it's odd, we have never heard of it before. It's outside of our comfort zone. We automatically sort of become cynical about it or judgmental about it, right? For good reason. We're trying to figure out if it's scary or if it's nice. Okay, what happened was I got told the three possible scenarios, and that's sort of what got me over the hump of being skeptical about it. Because literally, I mean, for 3 or 6 months, I tried to poke holes in this. I tried to figure out what's the too good to be true part. Because when people hear about discounted mortgage note investing, first thing a lot of people do is go, well, wait a minute, that sounds too good to be true. And I did the same thing. And so the three possible scenarios would be this. And let me just set this up real quick for a scenario. Okay, easy math. If someone is living in a home and the home itself, the physical house, is worth $200,000, okay, and the people living there still owe the bank $120,000. That's the balance they owe on their mortgage. I go in, backdoor the bank, and I say, hey, listen, I'll give you $100,000 cash to purchase that note. Well, what I'm doing then is I'm actually taking over $120,000 worth of debt that's owed to me by the borrower, and I'm paying $100,000 for it. So that's called discounted mortgage note investing. I'm not paying dollar for dollar what they owe the bank. I'm actually buying that debt at a discount from the bank. And so in that scenario, if the house is worth $200,000, the people living there owe $120,000, and I'm buying that note for $100,000. Okay. Let's just get there. Well, what ends up happening now is there's three things that could happen with someone's mortgage. And you can try to tell me if I'm wrong or you can figure anything else out. Okay. But they can pay as agreed. That just means they're going to pay their mortgage on time every month until the mortgage runs out of time and they now own their house. They've paid their mortgage off. So they can pay as agreed. Okay. They can pay the mortgage off early. That usually happens when somebody refinances or sells the home. Or they can stop paying and go into delinquency. Okay, those are the three things that could happen. So when I got told this and I said, okay, well, it sounds scary, that third one, right? You own a mortgage note and you're collecting passive cash flow and all of a sudden they stop paying their mortgage. That was kind of the scary one. But let me run these three scenarios down real quick, see if you like it. Well, if I bought a note that had that $120,000 balance on it at a discount, I bought it for $100,000. Well, let's say the face rate that they're paying on their mortgage rate is say 8%, somewhere in the Midwest or the Southeast, a little higher interest rates out there. So they are paying 8% interest on their mortgage, but I'm able to buy into that mortgage at a discount. Remember, I paid far less than what they owe. It increases my yield up to say 12, 13% in most cases. Okay. So here's the theory. One, if they pay as agreed, and let's just say for argument's sake that when I took this note over that they owe $120,000 on, there's still 240 months left. Okay. There's still 20 years left on that mortgage. Okay. So now I'm taking over that mortgage. And now if they pay as agreed, I'm going to get passive monthly cash flow sent to my mailbox every single month at a 13% annualized ROI for the next 20 years. Exactly. My $100,000 is going to grow into 200 and some odd thousand or 300,000 or something like that. Right. So the question I always ask people is that if you bought into that mortgage note and they just paid you as agreed and they made their mortgage payment on time every month for the next 20 years, and your money was guaranteed to triple over that time on a contractual basis with collateral, with no fluctuation based on stock market, cryptocurrency markets, or anything like that. It's just pure return and passive. Then would you be okay with that? Would you be okay making 12 or 13% annualized ROI on your investment for 20 years straight without losing sleep? Most people say yes. Okay. Now remember, what if they said option number two, which is they pay off early? They could refinance their house or move or sell the house and move. I have no control over that. They're homeowners, right? Well, remember, I bought in at a discount. So if they owe me $120,000 and I buy the note for $100,000, then let's just give a 3-year example because we don't know when somebody would refi or sell. But let's just say I bought the note for $100,000 and I collected passive monthly cash flow for 36 months. So I got 36 mortgage payments. Then they decided to sell their house and move to Florida. Okay. Well, they would owe me the total payoff balance, and that's when I would collect my discount. Remember, I bought in for $100,000. They owe me $120,000. So and that usually increases the yield. Number one, you got your money back faster, right? So time value of money. If you put that in the financial calculator, usually that says if they pay me off early, I actually increase my yield. That might increase my yield to 15, 16% for the 3 years I was in the deal. Okay.
Yeah, because you got 13% yearly, 12, 13%, plus you got 20,000 at the end. That's going to put you around about $50,000 altogether gain in 3 years. Right?
Yes. Yes.
So
Okay.
that gives you more than 15% return, almost 17% annualized return,
Thank you.
basically.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. And then you say, okay, well, then what if the one that everybody's scared about, and I was too when I heard about this, and I'm like, well, but what if they stop paying? Right. Well, let's run those numbers again. Remember, the
Mhm.
house they're living in, that's the collateral for the note, right? That's the bank's
Mhm.
collateral. If you don't pay your mortgage, what does the bank do with your house? They take it from you, don't they?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So if I step into the shoes of the bank, I have the option, last resort. I have the option of last resort of going through a foreclosure to get back my collateral. Okay. So here, just look at the numbers again. And I will preface with, guys, it's last resort because we do loan modifications and forbearances and all sort of things. And my goal is to keep people in their house because I like passive cash flow. Okay. I'd rather than pay their mortgage every month. That's easy for me. So bottom line though is this: if the house is worth 200,000, they owe 120,000, and I'm buying the mortgage note for 100 grand cash. Okay. You understand that my investment is $100,000 and my collateral, if they don't pay, is worth $200,000. Does that make sense? So if at last resort, they don't want a loan mod and they can't afford to live there or whatever circumstance happened, maybe a divorce, who knows, but they just are not going to pay the mortgage and get foreclosed upon, well, then look at my cost basis. I'm in for $100,000. And let's say I bought the note and they decided not to pay right away. I mean, let's just even say I didn't even collect any cash flow. Let's just use that for math. But I bought the note for 100 grand. The house is worth 200,000. So I get the house back by way of foreclosure. Now I own the house. I'm in for $100,000 investment. House is worth 200 grand. I hire a real estate agent because I don't have to be local. Like this house could be in Tennessee. I'm in San Diego, California. The house could be in Alabama, but I hire a local realtor in Alabama. They list the house for sale and do all my dirty work for me. And then what? A $200,000 house minus realtor fees, minus clean out, minus whatever, right? Let's say take out $20,000 of that, which is a little over exorbitant, but take away 20 grand of that. And now I'm at $180,000. So I invested 100 grand. And now I've earned 180,000 by liquidating the real estate once I took it back. So you see, if you looked at that kind of a purchase with those numbers and you said, well, geez, if number one happened, I'm good. And if number two happened, I'm good. And if number three happened, I'm good. And those are the three scenarios that will happen with someone's mortgage. Then now you see why we love it so much, because it's so secure. It's a contractual rate of return that has nothing to do. See, someone's amount of mortgage payment they pay every month is a contract, right? So if the stock market crashed 50% tomorrow, if the cryptocurrencies crash 50% tomorrow, even if the physical real estate market crashed 30, 50%, does the amount they have to pay every month to the bank for their mortgage payment change at all? No, they're still paying their monthly mortgage payment. It's a contract. So how beautiful is that, that you have the security of collateral, possibility of major upside, super passive, about as passive as it can get with monthly cash flow. Okay. And then you have those three possible scenarios that any of those scenarios could happen.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I was thinking out loud here because I heard about the performing notes and non-performing notes. So in your analogy, the three levels that you gave us, you kind of describe, what is the performing node and what is non-performing node. So performing node is the one when people are paying you back, either full term or they wanted to refi, you're getting paid. And the non-performing notes are when they're not paying. And then you have an option to foreclose the property or even resell it, right, to make your money back. And in most instances, you're making more money. But what if somebody doesn't want to do all that work? Because there's a lot of work, right? And then stress. Oh my God, I'm working full time. And now I have this mortgage note. This person is not paying. It's going to go into foreclosure. I have to deal with a realtor, the bank, or this and that. So I think that's where something that you were telling earlier, the Rhino system comes in. And I think Rhino system is kind of a Rhino method, I would say, to be exact. It's more like a active investor and passive investor. So if you can share us with that experience and how did you learn about that and how you're leveraging that?
Yes, it's a beautiful thing because, there's, like you said, a lot involved in becoming a note investing expert, right? There's
Exactly.
a lot involved. And to be clear about it, there's really like 6 or 7 major components that have to be in place to be able to do this, right? One of
Mm-hmm.
them, one of them is you have to have specialized knowledge of the asset class. Agreed?
Mm-hmm.
Number two is
Mm-hmm.
you have to have resources to be able to source inventory, right? Where do I
Mm-hmm.
find these notes? Where do I buy them from? That kind of thing. Somebody
Exactly.
has to understand the acquisition process and documentation process and the legalities behind the acquisition of a discounted mortgage note. Someone has to understand asset management and how to
Mm-hmm.
board that note with a loan servicing company and how to do all that.
Mm-hmm.
Someone has to understand the financial calculator to know all these different exit strategies and be able to calculate out what happens financially if any of these things happen and all that. And then at the end of the day, you have to have money because this is a cash business. Like I said, I had to buy that note in the example I was telling you. I had to go and have 100 grand cash to buy that debt. And so those things need to be in place, right? And the Rhino method is an awesome opportunity for, like you said, an active person that wants to get good at all those things I've just described, or there's a very passive person that just wants to ride on their back, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and utilize all their expertise for their benefit. And that's the Rhino method. And so how that looks is, let's just say, for instance, Vinki, that I obviously have the skills and I'm teaching others in my university to have the skills to be the pro, the active investor, the person that knows, where to get these things and how to vet them and how to do the due diligence, how to buy them, how to asset manage, how to exit strategies. And they've got all that dialed, right? And then they need the money. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the Rhino method is really cool. What if somebody like myself that had all these skills to acquire these mortgage notes had all those things in place, except for I wasn't liquid at the time to buy this note that's on my desk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here I have this juicy note deal. I've got access to it. I can buy it. I've done the due diligence. I run the numbers. It looks so good, but I'm just at the time not liquid. I have my money working in some other endeavor at the moment, but I really want to buy this thing. Well, herein lies an opportunity for what we like to call a Rhino lender. And the Rhino lender is somebody who is a very passive investor who wants security. And get this, Vinki, this is tough to find all in one place. This is why it's fun. They get security with collateral, in fact, double collateral. They get passive monthly cash flow on a contractual basis via auto pay. Okay. They get a better than average yield, and they don't have to have any of the other 6 things. They only have to have the money. Isn't that cool? So a Rhino lender then would look for a professional note investor, somebody that's acquiring these notes on a consistent basis. But maybe I have a note on my desk. For instance, in the example, Vinki, I bought that note for 100 grand when we were just talking about the case study earlier, right? I bought the note for 100 grand. Well, what if I didn't have the 100 grand, but I had the ability to buy that note? Well, what if I call you, Vinki, and I say, hey, Vinki, would you loan me 100 grand? I'll pay you a certain rate of return contractually, and I'll give you the $120,000 loan that I'm buying, that note. I'll give you the $120,000 note as your collateral.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a collateralized position, you have a contractual rate of return, you have very, very, very as passive as it can get monthly cash flow, meaning it auto deposits on the third into your bank account, and you have exit strategy to whereas we can exit whenever you'd like. If you want to stay in for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, that's fine with me. If you like the passive cash flow, keep it flowing. If you need your money out for a different investment, we can get you out within, say, a week or two. So it's very liquid and it's just path of least resistance. Talk about a dentist, a doctor, a lawyer, somebody who's running a business. You're too busy to become a professional house flipper. You're too busy to become a professional syndicator. You're too busy to become a professional note investor. But as we know, some of these areas are very good places to participate financially. And I just think that note investing is something that people can sleep better at night than maybe some of these syndication projects or some of the real estate flip projects or things that they can invest their money in, which maybe could be, who knows how good they'll go and who knows what's going to happen. Well, if you buy a mortgage,
Well,
buy a mortgage note, they pay their mortgage.
yeah. Yeah, I'm going to interject over here because if somebody's going to stress, they're going to stress in any kind of investment. You don't have any control on that. But I would love to understand the structure from you, like
Yeah.
how you're trying to structure this active passive role within the Rhino method. Like syndication, yes, we know that how LPs and GP structure work because there's a bunch of investors coming together under one LLC. So, what does your structure look like on the note side?
Well, understanding that they're not becoming a partner, they're not becoming a JV partner, they're not any portion of owner of the note whatsoever, so they don't have to be involved in the endeavors and understand it fully. That's the beautiful thing about it. Here's the thing. I have this note that I've bought, and they owe me 120,000 bucks, right? I'm borrowing the 100 grand from you. And all I'm saying, Vinki, is that I'm going to own this note in my portfolio, right? I'm going to handle everything. You don't have to handle it. You don't have to worry about anything. And you say, yeah, but what if, right? What if you are flying across the country to go see your apartment builds in Florida and the plane crashes? What do I do? Do I have to chase after your wife? Do I have to hire an attorney? How do I get my money back, right? It's always the fear of how can I get screwed, so to speak, for lack of better language. Okay. But here's the thing. I give to you, when you do loan me the 100,000, I give to you what's called a collateral assignment. And this is a notarized wet signature document that I have filled out that I give you in your possession. And this collateral assignment says that if you record that collateral assignment in the county in which the note is located, you are now the owner. So I literally give you the total power of having my note as your collateral in your hands until I've paid you back in full. If I don't pay you back in full based on our loan, okay, or I do die in a plane crash or something like that, then you literally have the option of just going ahead and recording that document in the county, and you take over ownership of a $120,000 mortgage note that's already boarded with a loan servicing company. You just give them your bank account number, and now the mortgage payment starts coming to you instead of me. I'm out. So it's that simple. I'm giving you an assignment of collateral that says you can take this note from me in case any of these rules of our contract are breached.
So, but how do you make money in this Rhino method? Then, the mortgage comes to me. So where is the profit split?
So here's how it works. Obviously, I'd be the owner of the note in which I've bought at, say, a 12 or 13% yield because I'm in the game, right? Well, I would ask you what you'd be comfortable with for your returns. And, some people are making 4% return in their IRA currently. Well, if I could get somebody who's making 4% return in their IRA, if I could get them 8%, it's much better for them, right? So that's how it works. I mean, as a pro note investor, I'm able to buy these things at high yields because I understand the game and I'm deep in it, right? But people that don't want to get deep in it like me and learn how to do it, well, you could, by the way, just so you know, Vinki, if you want to become a pro note investor, I could teach you how, then you don't need me. And you can go buy notes at 12 and 13% yields, just like I do. But you have to go through the process of becoming a pro, which most people don't want to do. So as a Rhino lender, you're loaning me 100 grand and I'm paying you 8% return on your money. I'm taking your 100 grand and I'm buying myself a note that yields me 12 or 13%. So you understand, I may be collecting a $500 a month mortgage payment every month from the note I own. And then I'm paying you $293 a month for your 8% return. And I get to keep the spread. So just based on me being an expert at buying the note, I didn't have to have any of my own money involved. And now I'm collecting 150, 200, 250, 300, $500 a month passive cash flow by way of spread. I'm collecting 500 a month and I'm paying you 297 a month. Or I'm collecting 1,000 a month and I'm paying you $740 a month, right? Because I'm collecting money at 13% returns and paying you 8. There's a spread there I get to keep.
Yeah, that you can. Okay. Yeah, I got that. So for somebody who's looking to become an active note investor, so if I take that perspective, what kind of skills or resources someone needs to get started with? Because earlier you said, I was writing down when you were talking, you said there's a lot of things that you need to know, like where to buy, number one, and how to find the good notes, because I think that's a talent that you need to acquire. And the legal aspect, asset management, and if you can take us through, I'm just going to throw all the bullet points at you, whatever you told me.
Yeah.
So if you can just tell us a little bit about it, like asset management, what exactly asset management this term qualifies for in the mortgage note. And also you said you need to know the financials and the exit strategies. Earlier you were telling me the note could be 20-year long, 30-year long, as long the mortgage is, right?
Yeah.
So when you're going through this Rhino method, bringing in other people alongside you to invest in the notes. So, I mean, how would you bring all these pieces together? It's a lot of moving parts in there, right?
Yeah.
So if you wanted to make this a full-time business and wanted to become an active
Yeah.
mortgage note investor, so tell us kind of a crash course, like in 2, 3 minutes, how would
Yeah,
that
no
work?
problem. We founded the Note Investor University, and in the Note Investor University is where we train you how to do what we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for those folks to know the possibilities, it's like, look, I started buying my very first mortgage note in 2019. Now I have a $20 million fund, and we've bought $17 million worth of mortgage notes in a few short years. So there's great possibility for people. Now, I will say this, I can get so crazy with deliverables, but that's boring. Okay. So, yes, we have 6 course modules. We teach you everything from the fundamentals, acquisition, asset management, exit strategies, how to use the financial calculator, and all of the skills you need. And I could go deep with deliverables like that. But
Mm-hmm.
the deliverables is boring people. Okay. Yeah, I got a lot of learning to do. Yeah. Sometimes that's even an off putting thing, right? Oh, I have to spend time learning stuff. Here's the theory. Here's the theory with our coaching. We promise if you join our coaching, which right now we're having an amazing special, right? You know, Black Friday is coming up. So it's an amazing deal. But we have some coaching where our promise is within 12 months time of being in our program, we're going to help you buy 3 notes, and we're going to walk you through the process hands-on. You're going to buy at least 3 notes minimum in your first 12 months. And, or we're going to get you to $500 a month of passive cash flow coming in those first 12 months. And if we're able to get you past that point, we believe that now you've got the skills necessary to move forward and to continue repeating the process.
Oh, interesting. Oh, okay. So in your course, what is the name of your mentorship program?
It's the Note Investor University.
I like that, Note Investor University. So if you join that, you will learn all the bells and whistles, and then you will know how to connect all the dots, right?
That's right.
So let me go back to your experience. You know, once you learned about this note investing from one of your friends or your acquaintances, and then you wanted to explore that investing. And then what was it like for you? How did you find out which is the good node versus bad node? And you felt like, okay, this is the right thing I wanted to do, or maybe the first one was not good enough. So share with us that experience. How did that work?
Yeah, I mean, when I got started, it was I was in a position of skepticism, like I mentioned. It was like trying to dig holes in this thing, find out, how it is too good to be true, and there's got to be a catch here, right? But like I said, when we went over the 3 possible scenarios and we looked at numbers, it's simply investment to value ratios in this game, right? So if you're buying debt at a discount, it's how much of a discount? Am I getting a 10% discount on the debt, a 15% discount on the debt, a 20% discount on the debt, and so forth? And banks, hedge funds, and private willing to sell mortgage debt at a discount based on its grade. So A grade notes we normally don't see because large banks and hedge funds love hanging on to A paper. You get down to a B note and you might get a 10% discount, a C grade note. And this just is based on their pay history and the credit worthiness and the pay history of the borrower and those kind of things that you're judging in due diligence. But bottom line is this, you're buying the debt at a discount. Okay. You have that as one piece of fail safe, right? That if they decide to sell their house or refinance, you're in the money. You're going to collect your discount and you've made profit. In the case that they default, you're going to make profit. And by the way, Vinki, I'm going to let you know, people back into real estate this way. Don't you understand? Okay. You talk about non-performing notes. I know people that want to build massive portfolios of rental properties, but they've figured out, and I've taught them how they can go through the back door. They can buy a non-performing mortgage note at pennies on the dollar based on real estate value, and then go through either a deed in lieu of foreclosure, a cash for keys scenario, or a real foreclosure. And they can now own the physical property and put a renter in there and have another rental property in their portfolio, but buy it for far cheaper than off the MLS, right? So my theory was I was picking holes in it. I figured out that it wasn't too good to be true, that banks have been doing this forever. But it had only been since the big mortgage meltdown of 2008 that flooded the secondary mortgage market with inventory and popularized it for people like me and you, right? Prior to 2008, you'd have had to have, $100 million to sit at the table to talk about note trades. It was a big institutional game, right? Big funds were trading large pools of these. Wells Fargo would trade to Bank of America, and that we weren't involved.
Right.
But then when these mortgages flood the secondary mortgage market, now it lies lots of opportunity for people just like me and you that can buy just one singular note. And then it was like, well, if my average is, because let's talk about replacing income. I was already making like $8,000 a month income, $10,000 a month income sales job. How do I replace $8,000 a month with passive cash flow? Well, let's just say with the Rhino method, I use your money. I pay you 8% on your money. I use your money as borrowed. I buy a note at 13, 14%, and I get to keep the spread. And let's just say on average, for each note I buy using the Rhino method, I'm collecting, say, $250 a month. That becomes my portion of passive cash flow now, right? Well, then I just reverse engineer that. And you all listening can do the same thing. I go, okay, what's 8,000 divided by 250? Right. And then I say, oh, goodness gracious, I only have to do 25 of these note deals. And then I am literally financially free and have replaced my active income with pure passive income. I only have to do 25 deals. I have to find 25 notes and 25 passive lenders, and I'm set.
Oh, you make it sound so easy and simple. And I'm like so intrigued to explore this. So now looking forward, let me ask you this, how this note investing landscape is changing, what is in the future, or what do you see in the crystal ball?
Well, I mean, notes are notes. There's always going to be notes out there. And especially now that interest rates have risen and qualifications at commercial lenders have become more stringent ever since the mortgage meltdown, right? Harder to qualify for mortgages, higher interest rates have priced people out. Well, guess what happens then? Seller financing kicks back in place. So there's so much seller financing going on right now. And when somebody is using seller financing as a real estate exit strategy, that means that they're carrying back a note. They're carrying back debt on a property they've sold. Maybe they say, if you come with 20% down payment, I'll carry the loan for you so you don't have to go to Wells Fargo to get a mortgage loan. I'll carry the paper. Well, they've then they've just created a mortgage note. See, so now I have all these real estate investors using seller carryback financing as a real estate exit strategy. And then what do? Who do they go to when they need to get their cash back to go and do another real estate deal? Well, they need to have a place to sell that note. And guys like me, and maybe you, if you learn this, are right in line to say, hey, I'll take that off your hands. I'll pay you cash, but I don't pay dollar for dollar. I'm just going to ask for a bit of a discount on the debt. But they can get their cash out by selling the mortgage note to a mortgage note investor, cash back in and go do their next house flip. Right. So seller financing is only increasing, not going away. And then as you see financial turmoil in the marketplace and real estate markets, tend to create opportunities in the note space. So we talked about syndications, right? And people raised all this money to go buy apartments. Well, now they're getting capital calls and their interest rates on their loans are being kicked up and things like that. And people are losing the ability to stay involved in these. Well, there are non-performing notes where the collateral is a 48-unit apartment building. So,
whoa, nice.
Right. So understand, buying debt that's secured by real estate is what I do. Now, real estate being single family home, triplex, quadplex, an apartment building. In fact, I've seen notes available for me to buy that was a non-performing note on a hotel. Right. I just don't know how to manage a hotel, and it's not a good exit strategy for me. So I didn't buy that note, but I've seen a note that's backed by 3 gas stations. Right. So it's just you're buying and taking over debt. And it's called secured debt. And so I'm buying and taking over debt that is secured by a piece of collateral. I just so happen to like real estate as my collateral.
Great. Thanks for this insightful conversation. We are out of time. So at this time, I'm going to ask you, share one golden nugget for my audience. And what could be the best takeaway from this conversation for them?
I will let you know that a lot of folks, like I was in my past, were trying to look for a big hit in order to become financially free. So I tried inventing a product, and I thought my invention, if it took off, I'd make millions and be financially free. Or, people say, boy, if I could just hit the lottery, right? Well, I've seen a lot of people hit the lottery, $3.5 million, state lottery, boom, they've made it. 3 years later, you see them on the lottery show and they're bankrupt. So here's what I will tell you. Financial intelligence is what can set you free. And what you use that financial intelligence for is to create passive monthly cash flow for yourself. It's the passive monthly cash flow that sets you free financially. Okay.
I like that. And just rinse and repeat. That's the best thing you can do. So this brings us to our vibe rapid fire round. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You're going to answer it in 1 word or 1 sentence only. Are you ready?
Ready.
Can you do that?
I
Okay.
can do it.
I'm just kidding. What is one of the most important things that you've learned in your life? And how did your life change after learning it?
That respect and character is everything aside from money or possessions.
I like that. Share one good book that you would like to recommend to my audience.
Invest in Debt by Jimmy Napier. It's the little red book of note investing, and it's the greatest place to start if you want to learn about what I'm teaching.
Great. In one word, what does life mean to you?
Joy.
I like that. That's awesome. And next question is, what is your biggest passion?
Helping others break out of the matrix and become financially free so they can spend their time on this planet doing what they love.
I like that. How do you say break out of that matrix? Like people are kind of stuck. So helping them, that's a really good thing. If you could turn back in time and talk to your younger self, what would you tell yourself and why?
Keep going. Keep going. The only thing that will prevent you from succeeding is if you quit.
I like that. That's a good one. Keep going. Remember that. So how can people reach out to you, Patrick?
Listen, I'm open book, so people can have my cell phone number. I'm not afraid of that these days. If you wanted to ask questions about how to get involved in note investing, then you can call me. My number is 619-520-0073. And also you can email me if you wish, if that's easier, patrick@investbrilliantly.com.
Thanks, Patrick, for joining us today and sharing your expertise with us. For our listeners, if you want to learn more about NOS, please connect with Patrick. And as always, thanks for tuning into the Real Estate Vibe Show. If you enjoyed this episode, please share to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with anyone eager to elevate their investing journey. We'll be back next week with more valuable insights. Until next time, stay focused, stay inspired, and keep building that real estate vibe. Thanks, Patrick.
Awesome. Thank you so much.